Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are exploring the completely invisible forces that shape our daily screen time. I mean, we spend so much of our lives just looking at and interacting with these flat, smooth pieces of glass, right? But have you ever actually stopped to think about what is happening beneath your fingertips? Today, we're going to unpack the incredible relationship between physical resonance, sound frequency, and the mechanics of our digital experiences. We've pulled directly from our source materials to show you exactly how this whole invisible architecture works.
So why do our flat screens feel so alive? Seriously, think about it for a second. When you interact with your smartphone or your tablet, it rarely feels like you're just tapping a dead, inert sheet of glass. There's a real, physical, tactile sensation there. There's feedback. You feel this really satisfying little click when you hit a letter on the keyboard, or maybe a subtle little thud when you pull down to refresh your social feed. It feels dynamic, it feels responsive, it feels alive. But how exactly are developers creating that deep sense of physical texture in a totally flat digital space?
Well, it turns out the secret actually lies in the physics of sound. This is the core mystery we are going to unravel in this explainer. There is this surprising, deeply interconnected bridge between real-world acoustic physics, the literal way sound waves travel through the air, and modern software design. To make our digital world feel real to us, engineers basically had to master the physical properties of how human beings experience sound.
To figure out how they did it, here's our roadmap. We're going to look at the architecture of frequency, the mechanics of digital experience, what happens when resonance meets digital, and finally, designing your digital reality. Okay, part 1, the architecture of frequency. Let's establish the baseline physics of physical sound.
We absolutely have to start with a crucial definition here: resonance. Basically, resonance is the reinforcement or prolongation of sound by reflection from a surface or by the synchronous vibration of a neighboring object. Think about what this actually means in a physical room. If you pluck a guitar string, the wooden body of the guitar catches that exact vibration and amplifies it. The object literally trembles in sympathy. It's like that deep, lingering reverberation you can physically feel in your chest when a heavy bass note hits at a concert. It's a very real physical event happening in physical space.
Now, the thing actually driving that resonance is frequency. This is the rate at which a vibration occurs that constitutes a wave. We measure this in hertz. You can think of these as essentially invisible mathematical waves traveling through different mediums, which then manifest as the physical sensations we eventually feel and hear. It's literally pure math manifesting as a physical sensation. Kind of wild, right?
So, when you boil it down, the core elements of physical sound are waveforms, synchronous vibration, and tactile feedback. These elements combine to create a deeply felt physical experience. When a sound wave hits you, it's not just going into your ear canal, your skin, your bones, and your entire environment are all responding to those vibrations. This tactile, physical feedback is deeply ingrained in human biology. We use it constantly to navigate the world and confirm our interactions with physical objects. Keep this grounded feeling in mind because we're about to make a jump.
Let's move to part 2 and see how this builds into the mechanics of digital experience. This is our digital canvas.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the direct contrast we're looking at. On one side, you have the physical acoustic experience, literal waves bouncing off walls to create real echoes and vibrations. On the other side, you have the digital mechanical experience, where lines of code are explicitly engineered to precisely trigger microsounds and haptic vibrations inside a device. We are literally taking the physical laws of acoustics and hard-coding them into software logic.
We naturally assume our screens are almost entirely visual, but check out this breakdown of digital feedback. Visuals actually only make up about 45%, auditory cues are 30%, and haptic, meaning touch-based feedback, makes up a massive 25%. That means more than half of a modern digital experience relies entirely on non-visual cues. Your interaction goes way, way beyond just what you see with your eyes.
So, when developers are building out this digital canvas, they aren't just designing the UI layout or the navigational flow, they're heavily designing the micro-interactions. If you removed all the auditory and haptic feedback, moving through an app's digital architecture would feel completely flat, slippery, and totally lifeless. Developers actually have to engineer friction and physical feedback right into these micro-interactions just so the digital world feels as sturdy and responsive as the real world.
Which brings us to part 3, when resonance meets digital. This is the exact moment where physics powers software. Okay, the absolute crucial point here is understanding exactly how this happens chronologically. Let's zoom into just a single micro-interaction. Step 1. You, the user, initiates an action. Let's say you pull down to refresh a feed. Step 2. Boom. the software logic instantly triggers a very specific mathematical frequency. Step 3, your phone's internal hardware translates that frequency into a precise haptic and audio pulse. And step 4, you physically feel that resonance. Your phone literally vibrates at a calculated frequency to simulate the exact feeling of a physical spring stretching out and snapping back into place. It's an illusion, but it's an illusion completely powered by acoustic mechanics. One of our sources hit the nail on the head with this quote: "Digital resonance isn't just heard, it's a calculated frequency designed to be felt. Every tiny vibration, every subtle little echo, every little pop you experience on your device is not random at all. It is mathematically calculated. Software engineers are basically acting like acoustic architects here, designing highly specific frequencies that will echo through your hardware and right into your hands to create a deeply tactile, convincing reality." It's actually crazy to look back at the evolution of digital sound over time and see how rapidly this has advanced. Back in the 1990s, we just had really basic, crude computer beeps, right? By the 2000s, we stepped up to polyphonic ringtones. Then, in the 2010s, we saw skeuomorphic clicks, which is just a fancy way of saying digital buttons made literal sound effects to mimic real-world plastic buttons. But now, in the 2020s, we are deep in the era of engineered haptic resonance. The software and the hardware are so unified now that the sound wave and the physical vibration are one synchronized, totally engineered event.
Let's wrap this up with part 4, designing your digital reality. The day-to-day impact of this design.
And this brilliantly illustrates how these engineered frequencies dictate our physical and emotional responses. Check this out. When you complete a smooth action, like a swipe, the software triggers a low hum frequency, and that gives you a genuine feeling of satisfaction and flow. When you tap a button, you get a sharp high-frequency click, giving you instant confirmation. But what about when you make an error? The software throws out a dissonant buzz, a rough asynchronous frequency. That physical dissonance immediately triggers a feeling of alertness and caution in your brain. There's no way around it. They are literally designing your emotional state through sound waves. 100. That is the percentage, literally almost 100% of our modern digital interactions that rely on some form of this invisible, resonant, mechanical architecture. From the exact moment you turn off your morning alarm, all the way to the moment you set your phone down on the nightstand at night, your physical interactions with the digital world are being entirely guided by engineered acoustic frequencies. It is this omnipresent, totally invisible layer of design in our lives. Which leaves us with this final, really profound thought to consider today. If our digital spaces are so intricately engineered to physically resonate with us, what frequencies are we tuning ourselves to? As we spend more and more of our time interacting with calculated haptics and synthetic acoustic feedback, how is that altering our baseline for how the real physical world should feel? It's an absolutely incredible concept to keep in mind the next time you pick up your phone and feel it respond in the palm of your hand. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this changes the way you look at and feel your digital world.